we move to the second segment, which is day 2, session 1. So what are the questions that are unanswered there? So let's go over it together. Okay, a comment here from the administrator. They say question 1 to C already answered in the live class. So, and the videos also have been provided on the YouTube. So we can check it out for those who are yet to get those questions. So that's why this question is starting from question 7, because question 1 to C is already answered. So now question 7, how can machine learning be used for a nonlinear systems whose data can only be generated on closed loop and through feedback control system? Example is the multivariable interconnected tanks like Quadruple tank system. Well, thank you. We thank the questioner. As we always said, the machine learning is a tool, and the major driving force is data set availability. If you have the data set, then for sure something can be done about your work or the problem area you are specializing in. Just mention it. Once the data is available, consult the experts in this area. If you are new, then you can sit down together to see, because sometimes you might need multiple machine learning systems. A single machine learning algorithm might not solve your problem. What I mean by, I'm not talking of ensemble. You might need to break your problem into stages. So the stage 1 might be regression problem. You need to predict a value. Stage 2 might be classification. Stage 3 might be another regression until you arrive at the final stage, which can finally form, it could form a loop, it could form a cascaded system, depending on the problem situation. So for instance, we have a very simple problem maybe in the control system. The initial stage to first of all decide, is the control system faulty or not faulty? That is a classification problem. The second stage of that problem is, if it is faulty, what could be responsible for the fault, for being faulty? Maybe in the data that is available, a couple of causes have been identified. The system needs to first of all predict the cause. Once the cause is established, then the next stage is, okay, what is the effect of, or what is the damage, the extent of the damage that is already taking place? So in that case, it's not a single model, it's a kind of multiple cascaded model in which the output of one model, we actually go to the other model to determine the next thing to be done, and then that can continue. So either we have feedback control. If a feedback control system is one of the most commonly used systems for robotics, see, because as the robot is moving, we want to get feedback. Is it closer to where it is going, or is it getting closer, or is it increasing in size? For example, a robot took off, like when I'm talking of robots, there are so many. The simple one is, and common one now, is the autonomous driving car. An autonomous driving car is requested to go from point A to point B. So when you leave point A, there should be a feedback control system for that autonomous car that is monitoring it. What is the distance? The distance was 4 kilometers. After like 2 minutes of driving, it should be reducing, but suddenly we notice that it is increasing. It means maybe the car started going on the wrong way, opposite direction to where it's supposed to go. We quickly have to initiate another control for the system to turn around. What is the angle of the steering to turn to be able to maintain where it is going? So the idea of feedback control system is being used even in robotics and so many other areas. But the idea is, do we have enough data? If the data is available, for sure, something can be done to solve our control system, be it feedback, be it closed loop, and whatever is the case. So the data availability is the issue. Once it is available, I want to believe we can do something. Now, so now question 8. ML application in theft detection at work sites. So the person says he's interested. So yeah, maybe it's just showing interest in that. Is it a question or is just interest? Okay, we take it as it's showing interest, but at the same time, if it is a question, sure, theft detection It's one of the area that site engineers or managers or the owner need to invest in, that you want to be able to monitor what is going on. Not everybody that is carrying something is trying to steal it. Maybe you want to put it at another place. But then there will be some data in the past that shows people who actually carry out the stealing. And those people who just try to keep it somewhere. That will be different in the way they pick it up, the way they look around, the way they look around to see if somebody's watching them or thereabout. These are some of the surveillance attributes that will be gathered and will be used in future to actually determine, because before you can get data, of course, those acts will have taken place. We have enough data for it. We build a system that can detect if there's going to be theft in the work site. You can also extend it to even include trying to predict absenteeism. It's one of the new areas also people are trying to investigate. So we want to know who's going to be absent from work, because they said a lot of money are lost by companies to absenteeism, sometimes even lateness. Another system like that to predict if somebody is going to be late to the work site, and host of other related to work site and company or working generally. So there are possibility, and to me, as someone said, is interested, it's a very nice areas to look at. Question number 9. How about reliability issue? Can a design be based on the predictor output of ML system where site-specific information is required? Yeah. Every system faces reliability issue depending on the kind of problem and also the kind of data set that is provided. And that is why before you can develop a machine learning system and then you roll it out, you must do a lot of thorough testing. You see, you do a lot of thorough testing, and you also have an idea of the kind of data. You see, if the data if the site is information specific or site specific information is needed, we run it. We try to have what we call homogeneous database modeling, where the data set, you are training your model using data set, and the testing site is going to be similar to what you have used it to test. This is homogeneous system, and it's the easiest one to do, by the way. The moment the data for testing is there from training, definitely the performance goes down. Except during your training, you mix the data from different sites. Sometimes you get machine learning algorithms that are able to work for you. Sometimes you might not be able to get. In that case, you might have to go higher level to go to ensemble system. You see, this is an area. Personally, I'm working in that area presently. We try to see, can we use oil data on for permeability from different reservoirs and use it to predict for another reservoir? It's very challenging, by the way. Even when you use this data from the same reservoir to predict in the same reservoir, it's still challenging, not to talk of when they are different. But the idea is, can we bring different data sets together during the training? You have like 5 wells, mix 3 of them together for training. They are different wells, and then predict on the other 2. How far can we go? But for sure, for such complicated data, a single machine learning system will not be reliable. Or let me say, might not be reliable, because based on the principle of a hypothesis function we discussed, every algorithm has an hypothesis space. See, and in that hypothesis space, it has to pick only one hypothesis function to represent your data. So that hypothesis function might work at some point, at some other point, it might not work. The idea is, why don't I have like 15 support vector machine hypothesis function, 15 decision tree hypothesis function, 25 k-nearest neighbor hypothesis function. So I have like 250 models, and I combine them together to take a decision. Either they're going to use voting pattern. Whenever a decision is going to be taken, they have to vote. So that if some make mistake, the mistake of this sum will be cancelled by the majority. That might be correct. Because we are assuming that if you train independent model 255, they cannot all be making the same mistake at the same time. So to answer the question succinctly is that for reliability, well, going to ensemble might go a long way to actually ensure reliability. This is in addition to training your model very well, training it very well, and making sure you are testing it very well. Validation, testing. Before you deploy to your client, let them provide you with another new data test it again. If there's need for you to go back, you go back. But from experience, Ensemble can go a long way to ensure that irrespective of little differences in the data set, the 250 model we have trained may not all make mistake at majority level. Maybe minority will make mistake. So the majority that are correct, we cancel out those minorities. Like we demonstrated the other time, Ensemble is one of the area where even though none of the individual models are getting they're getting more than 75% accuracy, you can actually combine this 75%, when there are many and they are independent, you can achieve 100% accuracy. That is the power of Ensemble techniques. And I believe we have several videos in our archive also so that we can look into that. Yeah. So it's still possible, even though it is data specific, that should not be a big problem. It depends on the algorithm, and also it depends on the kind of data and the model you have selected. Next is question 10. Please, I would like to know about machine learning application in cyber crime detection, civil crime, and crime control. Thanks, sir. Okay. Well, so machine learning and cyber security is becoming a very big area. The industry are pulling on. Just like I mentioned earlier, that AI is divided to several fields, not NLP, knowledge-based system, and most of others. However, machine learning is unique in the sense that even other field of AI needs machine learning to be able to carry out their purpose. Robotics now these days, look at the autonomous car, it's a robot, but then it can hardly do its work without machine learning to predict and guide it and on how to drive. The same thing goes to other fields now. So in cybersecurity and other security, AI is becoming very common and very popular now to have for a lot of solutions to be, because hackers are developing this every day. Every day they are changing their pattern. It's not possible for anybody to come up with security method to counter them every day. That is why machine learning is adept at it. So machine learning is able to extrapolate from previous data and be able to know, okay, this is the way these hackers might behave. There are so many areas here. The popular one is what we call the spam detection, because actually spam, as simple as it is the beginning of a lot of challenge or big trouble for companies. Just imagine someone send a spam email to one of the employees of a company. The employee decided to just click. Some people believe in clicking without even reading what they are clicking, because maybe they are just emotional, they want to go quickly. A single click actually opened a very small micro that has been sent through that particular link. Just clicking it exposed the entire company to the hackers, and they brought down the company immediately for weeks. You see? So it means if we can actually prevent spam from going to people's email, or we disable them once we identify them and moving them to the junk, some company will even take it off the junk totally, because they still don't trust some employee. They will still go into the junk folder, bring it out and click it. Maybe due to they just want to know what is going to happen, but it could be dangerous to the industry. So in essence, spam detection, as simple as it is one of the very, very basic cyber detection ML-based system that have been investigated. A lot of work has been ongoing on that. So we have for example, also I try to identify attackers' location. Is the attacker from within the country, or is it from outside the country? You don't want to offend other people. If somebody attacks you from within your company, you should be able to locate it easily rather than looking to outside, because sometimes crime happens, it's everywhere. Crime will happen, the tendency will start accusing other people of committing the crime. Maybe the one who committed the crime is very close by. It will even join you to start searching for who has committed the crime. So that's why trying to detect, we call them cyber attack attribution. Cyber attack attribution is a very important area, but very few work has going on in this area. It's another area somebody might venture into. You want to predict if this attack is from outside or is from within. Not just predict, you don't want to wait for it to happen. You want to even predict when is the next attack going to take place. These are our possibility when it comes to another civil crime also. Once the data is available, you want to predict where is the next crime likely going to take place. Yeah, possible. Yeah. You don't want to wait for it to happen. So you want to preemptively identify the possible hotspots to look out for. These are all possibilities. Now, and for control, if you can, preemptive solution will support your control. So usually people wait for crime to be reported before they act. And by then they go to act, maybe it's getting late. So can we get a system that can forecast there's going to be a social crime in a particular place so that the police can go there before the crime actually takes place? It's a possibility. Yeah, it's possible. You see, it's being deployed in a system now. So it's just like a road accident prediction. You want to predict where there's going to be majority of road accident. You see, we had undergraduate students who develop such a system. Even undergraduate can do that. They predict the spot where there's going to be a lot of accident tomorrow, and then they send an alert to the police, and the police will go to that junction to stop people from speeding to that point. So by so doing, maybe they are able to prevent some accident. Who knows? The same thing can be done for crime control through preemptively trying to identify streets or suburbs that are prone to getting attacked or getting high crime rate, so that preemptive mobilization of law enforcement agency can be kind of strengthened if we have a little bit of prior knowledge of it. Of course, there are always room for error. It's not really 100%, but sometimes we get some right. So 11, what is the use of ontology in the machine learning? Well, for those people who knows what is ontology, is area NLP uses a lot of ontology in AI. So because this is where you want to develop a kind of a unique keywords for each area of specialization, actually. So NLP uses it a lot when you want to search, you Google something, search engines, they are more developed. But for AI, for machine learning, since other area of AI, like I mentioned, they all ultimately depend also on machine learning. So for sure, ontology, one way or the other, will have a place in machine learning. For example, in sentiment analysis. You want to do sentiment analysis for an area like depression. So if there's an ontology about depression that are already developed, because ontology of a particular of depression, for example, will mention every important point that relates to depression. So if that is complete, then making necessary search, matching the appropriate word will become even more easier. So because ontology, after being developed, actually assists several other fields to be able to know the unique attributes and keywords in each area that is targeted. So machine learning also can benefit from that if we use it on tasks that are related to search and also keywords related or sentiment analysis, as the case may be. 12, how do we have access to the practical aspects of this course? Will that be covered in this course? Yes, I think this question must have been answered because we did practical. So towards the end of day 2, which was when the question was answered, I believe that question has been taken care of. We demonstrated how to run our experiment. Now, how will machine learning assist in legal research? Wow, that's another very big area. Yeah, a lot of opportunities abound. That's why I was reading yesterday. They said thousands, over 500,000 estimate as the number of the shortage of machine learning and AI practitioners that are needed in the world. More than 500,000 plus. And the data is still just coming out because a lot of people now are coming to realize the power of machine learning and they want to deploy it, but there's no one to deploy it for them. No one to help them do it. See? So this is the big area. So legal research, if I have a lot of opportunity in the legal way, we know some of the challenges with the legal stuff. how to record, and so many other things. Can we predict this? What's going to be the outcome of a case? Can we establish? What if we use machine learning to detect lie? Can we go to that level? So can a judge use machine learning to detect if a judge is telling lie? Or there are so many areas that actually work can actually go to from machine learning and legal research. Like I said in the past, we used to mention computer and legal and law. Now these days, people are talking of machine learning and legal research. And there's so many areas that people are already looking into in this direction. How can we improve justice system using machine learning? So previous data can assist the judge a lot in taking decision from previous incidents that have been documented. How can we go, if especially when we look at the sentiment analysis vis-a-vis the lawyers that are trying to argue cases, because these days you see lawyers who know the correct thing, but they just want to argue the case for the case of just winning the case. So I believe a lot of machine learning deployment can support and can assist in hopefully righting the wrong. 14, how well can ML be of use in systematic and meta-analysis in literature surveying? Yeah, if you know, for people who are familiar with systematic and meta-analysis literature review, this is a review that you don't just talk about the review, but you actually gather data from each of the paper, and you have data already to extrapolate to be able to make discussion of your result. Yeah, for sure, if the data is sizable, why not machine learning can come in, since it involves quantitative. Now, it's not just writing and what qualitative result, but you have quantitative result, you have data set that you can plug into your machine learning, but you want to predict the number of people that's going to be published in this area based on what you already cover in your literature survey. So for sure, machine learning can serve a lot of purpose in this area. How can you identify the model to use for a particular application? What is the process involved in data modeling if you want to develop your own algorithms? Yeah, well, now, how can you identify the model to use for a particular application? I've said it, let the data speak. So no algorithm can guarantee. So try from simple to the complicated. See, and don't forget the optimization. So, and then you start from the data, prepare your data. If the data is okay, run your model, select the appropriate algorithm, run it, try and error. What is appropriate? No one can tell you without you running it yourself. Optimize each of the algorithm you want to do, because it's not fair for you to decide that an algorithm is not working enough, meanwhile you didn't optimize the parameter. No, it's not allowed. Optimize the parameter first, and then you get the final result, and move to other algorithms, and then select it. So once that is done, check the performance, and you go with the one that is better. But sometimes, if no one is getting better, maybe you might need to think of combining results in what we call ensemble. So these are some of the processes involved in data modeling, which we also discussed earlier. So you divide your data. I mean, you gather the data, you pre-process the data, and then you have training your model, and then testing your model. At the case maybe or validation if you divide into 3, and then sometimes someone say you might want to develop your own algorithm, which is okay. Yeah. So that's also why we expose ourselves to the theory of k-nearest number. Very simple. And others we are going to hopefully have the opportunity of doing in future. Yeah. Maybe you want to come up with distance measure that has never been used before. The mathematician knows this. Maybe there's some distance measure that can always guarantee better result. Who knows? Come up with it, and then they're going to name it after you, or you name it after yourself, provided you can prove that it's solving problem better, at least not in all cases, in some popular data set, and people accept it. Yeah, that's one area. You can come up with your own algorithm. Another one is you can come up with ensemble algorithm, because when you combine algorithms together, it's like a new algorithm on its own. No one combined it before. You look into some unique algorithms and you try to combine them together in a unique way, either using the boosting method, bagging method, or the one we call the cascaded one, whereby the output goes to the next one and the training will take place again. We call it stacking. Either of the two, that all the options you use, combining it together could be considered also as a way of developing your own algorithm, or you develop a total algorithm from the scratch. Of course, this is going to be challenging and it's encouraged because you have to prove to people that your algorithm is worth it and it's working. And that also could be met with a lot of other political stuff and the likes, because so some people don't want the algorithm to be accepted for whatever reason they want to do that. But then, whereas people try, so it's an area that is interesting, but a lot of personal interests of people put them down, actually try to discourage people from going to this area. When you come up with a new algorithm, a new algorithm that is really working fine, for how many years now, they did not leave those guys. They kept criticizing them at high level, condemning the work, even though it was a good work. So they spend a lot of time coming back and forth. So, but that's not a discouragement, but to just let you know that, yeah, it's a thing to do. But however, you have to be prepared for some of the challenges that follow. But developing machine learning algorithm will be a very nice idea for anyone who is interested to also pursue. I think our time is over, so we are going to call it a day. We stop on question 15, the 2. So hopefully we have the opportunity to answer the remaining ones before the next class. Otherwise, we continue and then we take a couple of questions. Thank you very much for the opportunity once again and for listening, and we hope that benefits. So thank you. That's going to be the end of the lecture for the day. We'll take a few questions before we call it a day. So if you have any question, then please, you